Welcome everyone once again to our regular weekly show on YouTooSpain. I'm Skatz, and today I'll be talking to Andy from Golden Paws Pet Transport all about how to transport your pets to Spain, especially from the UK. As usual, we'll be answering all of your questions and comments from social media, from the live chat, and from the comments below about today's topic. If you're watching the recording of the show, you can find the time codes and chapter headings for each of the answers you need in the video description below. So, welcome to YouTooSpain. Cue the music, let's dance. That actually might be the last time you hear that theme, because I'm getting another one made especially for YouTooSpain by a musician over in the UK that I really like. So I've got that to look forward to, and so have you. So very quickly, before I introduce our expert guest for the day, you can thank us for the help you get today by buying me a coffee via a link in the video description below. You can also become a patron and receive extra videos and information that aren't available to the public. Those links, if you can't find them below, are also available on YouTooSpain.com, which is our terrific website packed with loads of information and articles and all of the links you need to help you move to Spain. So join the community, and you can also get some helpful links to where you get discounts on lots of things that you need, including getting the best currency exchange help, for example, from Smart Currency Exchange, so you can maximize your money and pension in Spain. And if you use that link, you'll be helping YouTooSpain, and it won't cost you a penny. And once again, we'll be having some prizes to give away for the best questions and comments from you. So stick around to the end and you may get one of those. So without further ado, let's meet my guest for the day. It's Andy from Golden Paws. Hola, Andy.
Good morning, Skatz. How you doing?
Oh, very good, very good. We've got lovely clear weather up here in the mountains. I bet it's the same for you. Yeah, that's. I mean, that's a photograph, but it's just like that today. It's good for you down on the coast. You're down in Mijas, aren't you?
Yeah, lovely today. Sun's out, so I can't complain.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think the summer's really starting now. I think we've only got maybe a couple of days of rain next week, and I think that's it until November.
Yeah, well, they've got the international ferry on in Fuengirola at the moment, so good weather for them.
Excellent, that's good. So let's get straight into it then. We were just talking before we came on air that we're both wafflers. We've both got some Asperger's and autism in our family background. So everybody, stop us if we start waffling.
Exactly.
And I'm going to try and do the same thing.
Especially.
Yeah. So let's have a look at the chat. We've got A.K. Mitchell. That's Anton Kerry. Bonjour and hola todos from sunny France. They're moving over to Spain soon. And hello, Wendy Jackson. That's lovely. So first of all, Andy, tell us a bit about Golden Paws and what you do.
Okay, well, Golden Paws we started around about 5 years ago now. Basically, it's for private pet transport between mainly Spain and the UK. We travel once a month. Our route would take us normally from Malaga area, Andalusia, all the way up through Spain, France, into the UK. So it's as I say, it's aimed mainly at private pet transport. We're not dealing with rescues that are being rehomed to the UK or anything like that. So a lot of our clients are repeat clients that have second homes here that are going backwards and forwards. Obviously with Brexit, now that they can only stay for 90 days, they're doing kind of like 2 trips a year. But a lot of the time as well, we're getting calls from people that are trying to find out how they get their dog or their cat from Spain to the UK and back again. And even if we can't do it, then I'm happy to kind of give advice and tell them the best ways in which they should do it. So
that's good. We've got
there's quite a few come on now.
Yeah. I'll just look at this. U2 Yoga, as you can tell by the name, that's related to me. That's my wife. She's on. Says, "Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all well." She'll be in and out this morning. So normally she gets a call from her mum at this time of day. So she's on 3 screens at once. And so we've got a question.
Yeah, I see that African grey parrot.
Yeah. Well, shall we deal with that one now? Or no, actually, we'll go through just a couple of the questions I was going to ask you and go through that, and we'll come back to you in a moment, Wendy. So if we forget, then just remind us on the chat. And we've also got Chris, my regular guest, Chris, Upsticks to Spain, says, morning all, looking forward to the show. We get asked questions about pets all the time. Have a great show. So
Throw 'em at us.
that's good. Yeah, we'll throw some. It's good to have all of these partners with all of the people I've had on the show, and we all kind of send business to each other. It's really good. It's a friendly way of doing it. So,
Denise one, got that one there. Ireland, that's an easy one.
yeah. I've had a few questions about that. So let's talk first about what are the different ways to transport a pet.
Okay, so whether it's UK or even Ireland to Spain or the other way around, there's two main ways. First one, which is the one that we deal with, is private pet transport. Now, it does come with rules and regulations attached to it, especially since Brexit. So for an animal to enter or leave the UK under what's called the pet travel scheme is when the actual owner, and the owner as in the name as it appears in the animal's passport, is also traveling from one country to another. So for example, I've got a trip leaving next week on Wednesday. The animals that we have booked on are either people that are returning to the UK after spending 90 days here, or they're relocating back to the UK, but they are also entering the UK within 5 days maximum, either side of their dog entering the UK. So pet travel scheme you can find on the UK government website. What the animal needs for that, first of all, is if it's coming from Spain, Spanish pet passport. The next thing that the animal would need to have is a microchip. I don't know if you can see that on there. Microchip number. Next thing would be a valid rabies. And then 2 days prior to transport, the dog would need to go to the vets and have a tapeworm treatment and also have a health check. The health check's not a legal requirement for entry into the UK. That's for us as a transporter. When I'm putting animals into the van, I need to know that A, they're fit for travel and they're free from any kind of disease or infection that might affect the other animals that are being transported. So if the dog has also already left the UK to come to Spain, it might be traveling back on what's now called an animal health certificate. So since Brexit kicked in, if you had one of these, but it said United Kingdom on the front of it, it's no longer valid.
Okay.
If the dog had been here in Spain and has never been back to the UK since Brexit, you would be able to use it to go back in. But if it's gone back to the UK, you'll never use it to come back out again. You have to get this animal health certificate, which, again, it's a 13-page document. It's a whole subject on its own as to how to go about doing it. So we deal with private pets where the owner, if they're booking with us, when they send in their booking form, they'll also have to send proof of their transport or their flight confirmation showing that they are entering the UK no more than 5 days before or 5 days after.
That must make it really difficult for people who are trying to book their non-lucrative visa, their flights or their transport, and they don't know when because right at this moment there's strikes on at the embassies. You don't know when your visa is going to come through. That must be really difficult for them and for you.
Yeah, the 5-day rule's always been there. It's only now since Brexit that they're really checking into it. The main reason being, you've got to think of border control now as probably one of the biggest revenue generators in the UK. When we pass through there, they're looking for anything that should have some form of import or export duty on it. So if your animal's not traveling under pet travel scheme rules, it then falls into a commercial import or export.
This is the second way of transporting.
That's the second way of doing it. So let's say you were here in Spain and you thought, do you know what, I'll leave my dog with my friend, I'll go back to the UK, and then the transporter can bring him in a couple of weeks because I can't get the timings to fit.
Mm-hmm.
If the owner can't prove to us that they're traveling within those 5 days, it automatically then becomes a commercial import.
Mm-hmm.
Once it becomes a commercial import, we won't touch it.
Mm-hmm. Why is that? Is it just more expensive, or?
So for me, it's a number of factors. So if you had a rescue dog, let's say, going from here to the UK, the definition of commercial is when a dog is either A, being rehomed or sold, or if the owner's not traveling within 5 days. The process is very different. When it's a private pet, on Wednesday next week, I will go to the owner's house, pick up the dog, we'll be on our way. Once it becomes commercial, it would mean that I would have to collect that dog 2 days before transport, take them to a registered kennels. They then have to be inspected by an official locker vet, sign off all the export health certificates. We'd have to get an import agent in the UK to do the import paperwork. You'd even pay import tax on your dog. So
Wow.
for a rescue, for example, it's a minimum cost of £20. For a cat, it's £12. But the cost of the import agent as well, on top of that, and paperwork, the vets, you probably add another good couple of €100 on top. But for me, it's more the point. The clients that I have would not want that process for their animal,
Mm-hmm.
because to take them from their owner, put them into a kennels for 2 days, and then transport them for 2-3 days, I just personally don't feel it's fair on the dog
Mm-hmm.
or the cat. You're not necessarily going to get happy waggy tails getting off at the other end. So with those two different types of ways of transporting, you've got really two different types of transporters.
Mm-hmm.
You've got guys that work mainly with rescues, traveling to and from or to the UK, but they'll be taking up to like 20. Well, they can take 20 in to the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Within that 20, they can also put 5 on as private pets.
Wow.
But would you want your my dog Cece, my little French bulldog? I wouldn't want her in a van with 20 other dogs. We'll
No.
only travel to the UK with a minimum of 5 to, or maximum, sorry, of 5 to 7. So yeah, there's a lot of the time, it's, as you say, it's getting the timing right.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the conversations I have with people are where they don't realize there's time restrictions. When you leave the UK to get the animal health certificate, the first question the vet is going to ask you is, what date is the animal leaving the UK and what date are you leaving? If the answer to that is not within the 5 days, they're going to refuse to give you an animal health certificate,
Mm-hmm.
tell you that you need an export health certificate. And once you go down that route, there's not a transporter that can help you because neither the Channel Tunnel, the ferries, or anybody will accept an export health certificate to get that dog out of the UK, because there isn't the places in France yet to check the paperwork
Mm-hmm.
that it's a commercial export. So it's difficult. We always say to people, look, if you've got animals involved anywhere, all of the dates have to revolve around your pet, whether it's furniture, whether it's your flights or anything. Don't book anything until you've got your animal sorted first.
Mm-hmm. Very good advice. That's yeah, and that must make it. That actually gives me confidence that you're, if you were taking my pet, that you're looking after their well-being first of all. You know, that's first in your mind.
I mean, even for somebody like me that does this on a daily basis, the rules and regulations are changing continuously. It wasn't like on the 1st of January last year that they just went, right, there's everything. They've literally drip fed it into the system. They weren't prepared for it. that's obvious. I mean, obviously we're doing border crossings every single month. It's strange to say, but obviously because we follow it so closely, we know more about the import and the export regulations than border control do. They probably don't know 20% of the stuff they should have been checking before Brexit, let alone since then.
It's all new to them, isn't it? The Brexit rules are all new to them.
Yeah, and they're not just dealing with pets; they're dealing with absolutely everything. But it is sometimes quite shocking when they're bringing in restrictions against us as transporters that are fully licensed in the UK and in Europe, and we will ask them. So for me, if I'm taking a booking, I will need to know, obviously, all of the owner's details, all of the animal's information. We'll need permission in writing from the owner to say that we're transporting on their behalf. We'll do a pet scheme declaration form, flight confirmations. We'll have everything with us when we go there. In 5 years that I've done it, they have never once looked at the booking form, the permission in writing, the flight confirmation. However, I guarantee the day that I don't have that is the day that they're going to ask for it, and that's not a phone call that I want to make to an owner.
No.
So is it overkill in some ways? No, it's not. Those are the rules, those are the regulations, and if they wanted to, then it's a big problem. You're looking at quarantine for the dog or anything like that. So we're very strict with that.
Yes, let's move on to a question that I got actually from social media. So I've not shown you this one, but
Surprised
it'd be worth comparing. Ruth Flores says, "Hi Skatz, it'd be worth covering the option of flying if cat, dog, etc. is under 8 kilograms in the carrier. That's what we did. So what's the difference between doing what you do in the van and flying a pet?"
Okay, depends on the animal. Obviously depends on where from and where to, but let's just take the UK to Spain. For me personally, if there is an option there for the owner to travel with their pet directly that works for them and is affordable to them, and that's the route that they would prefer to do, then go for it, quite simply. If it was me, I'd rather have my dog with me than if that was the option. Unfortunately, it's not a possibility for everybody. I've just had a client that we brought their cat over. It's a Maine Coon cat, so it's a big cat. It's more like a tiger. Both of the guys work for BA. We transported it from London to Benalmadena for them on our last trip. They asked for a quote with BA, and they were being quoted £1,500 to bring their cat over one way. So it's a very, very limited option to fly them. Obviously, it's the most direct. It's the least amount of time in transport, but it's not always possible. It's like if you've got a French bulldog or a boxer, anything that's snub-nosed, they won't allow you to fly them. So yeah, there are lots of ways to do it.
If it's under
working out the right way that works for you.
If it's under 8 kilograms in the carrier, does that mean
Depends
they
on
can
the
take
airline.
it actually in the cabin with them?
Depends on
wonder
the
if it's-
airline. You have to literally check every individual airline. There's some airlines that won't accept animals full stop. So the likes of your EasyJets and your Ryanairs and a lot of these guys, they won't. The bigger ones that will, like everyone says, do KLM into Holland and then Holland down to Malaga. I'm not against any particular way of transporting, it's the same with us. When it comes to, obviously, we're road transport, and there's various ways that it can be done. Like with the commercial guys, I don't particularly believe in taking 20 animals in open-sided crates in a van for 2-3 days. I started this because I felt that there was a better way to transport people's pets with more attention, more stops, more updates for owners. So yeah, it is horses for courses. Sometimes you're restricted by what options you have available. In an ideal scenario, I'd like to open Golden Paws private jet service.
That'll be nice.
Yeah.
You can't take him out for a walk in the middle of a journey.
No, but it's something I've looked into. But again, it's all some. If I'm honest, most of the conversations with clients, it pretty much comes down to cost.
So the cost would be quite different from the flying a pet and doing it via your
Well, as I
service.
say, just with that cat, for example, that was £1,500 one way. We're at 795. So again, there's a lot of things that have changed that have affected pricing in the last 18 months. Prior to Brexit, I would have been able to transport a maximum of 18 animals from Spain to the UK and then back again. The vehicle that we had a bespoke crate system built into it, mainly concentrating on private pets, but then we would also take a handful of rescues with us as well. And we would use the Channel Tunnel. The Channel Tunnel allowed us to enter and leave the UK with up to a maximum of 20 animals. When Brexit came along, Eurotunnel turned around and said, right, you can still enter and leave the UK with 20. However, only 5 of those 20 can enter using the pet travel scheme, which doesn't work for me because most of my clients are private pet owners moving backwards and forwards. So we stopped using Channel Tunnel and we moved over to DFDS, which is the ferry between Dieppe and Newhaven. And with a freight account there, we were able to take 10 in and 10 out, but all as private pets. So no animal had to go through that commercial import or export process. Going from 18 down to 10 has an impact on pricing because I've got less animals to spread the cost amongst. In March this year, we went to book our April ferry to be told DFDS will only now permit 5 animals in a vehicle.
So they've gone the same as the tunnel.
Yeah, it's something that I understand the reasoning behind why they're doing it. I just don't agree with how they're going about it. So you've got to imagine the UK has a massive problem with the import of rescues, puppies, Eastern Europe. The UK is flooded with the import of dogs. And what they would previously do is they would take, for example, a rescue or a puppy into the UK on the pretense that it was entering the UK as a private pet, using the pet travel scheme, when actually it should have been entering as a commercial import. So the system was being abused, and it's been abused for years, and they've never got a handle on it. So in a way for them to combat that, they've now put this restriction in place that any vehicle entering the UK can have no more than 5 entering using the pet travel scheme. That doesn't work for us because we genuinely have more than 5 every month that we could book on that would be entering using the pet travel scheme. If we have more, then we can bring the cost down because it's more animals to spread the cost over. the reason it's so frustrating is, for example, like on our last trip, when I get to Dieppe and hand the paperwork in, they hand it back within 2 minutes. They haven't actually even looked in the van, scanned the animals, or checked any of the paperwork. So our argument is, if they did that, that would combat it without having to ruin what we're doing. So, yeah, we've had to adapt. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, it's the owner that ends up having to pay more for it.
So let's get on to that question by Wendy. I was going to ask
where's
what
it
kind
gone?
of pets do you actually carry? It's not just dogs and cats? So let's put Wendy's message up there because she has an African grey
African
parrot.
grey parrot. Okay. So any licensed pet transporter on their license is legally allowed to transport 3 types of animals. Dogs, cats being the obvious one. I'll let you try and guess a third one.
Parrot.
No.
No. Go on then.
Ferrets.
Ferrets.
Yeah.
No way.
So if you look on a Type 2 license, it says that you are legally entitled to move dogs, cats, and ferrets. I've never once had anybody ask me, "Hi Andy, I'm looking to get my ferret from the UK to Spain." Yeah.
And you know what? I found there are shops here called ferreterias, and I
Yeah.
thought they were ferret shops. Like there's thousands of them everywhere, but of course they're not. It means something else, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, did you know a group of ferrets is called a business of ferrets?
Is it?
So what would you call one ferret then?
No, a biz,
An entrepreneur.
an entrepreneur. Yes, fantastic.
So yeah, with African greys, let's get back to this one.
Yeah.
The best people to contact to find out exactly what you need to do would be DEFRA in the UK. I don't personally know anybody that would be dealing with an African grey parrot. You have to look at the species and speak to them exactly. You probably might even need CITES paperwork to move them out of the UK now. But the DEFRA in the UK, maybe if we can put a link up later to their or some contact details for them, I can send you some links.
Definitely, I'll make a note of that.
Ask about moving animals. They might even put you onto the Animal Plant and Health Agency.
Okay, that's good advice for Wendy then. Let's go
But
to
a difficult one because of the breed.
let's go to
Transport
Denise.
from Ireland.
Yeah.
Yes. So, having done this for a while, I've built up a network, let's say, of transporters that I'm happy to recommend. One of those is a couple called Gary and Abby from the Woofington Express. Brilliant name. Love it.
I love that too, yeah.
So they do things exactly the same way as we do. In fact, the April trip we did together, they have regular trips going in and out of Ireland. It's a dedicated island trip.
Do they go from Northern Ireland or just from the south?
Both, north and south. When we're planning a trip, we have to look at several things. Obviously, now we're restricted to 5 in and 5 out. If I had 4 going into the UK and then 1 into Ireland, then the cost of me getting from the UK into Ireland and back again would all basically be on Denise's bill, let's say. I couldn't charge the other clients that are on that part of the trip for the cost of getting from the UK into Ireland and back again. So anything that is Ireland, myself and Gary kind of pull it all together to make one bespoke trip that's going in and out to help kind of keep the cost level down for everybody. But yeah, we can get their contact details on here later on, or if Denise wants to contact me directly, I'll happily get the details over to them, however it works.
Brilliant. Yes, and we'll have your. In fact, I think we already have your website details in the
Okay.
video
Yeah, if
description
she wants
below.
to drop me a message or anything like that, then I'll pass over the details for Gary and Abby. But you can find them on Facebook if you just look for the Woofington Express. You'll find them on there. Drop them a message or give them a call.
Brilliant.
They'll be able to help you.
I'll just say hello to Donna Fryer, who's saying hola from sunny UK on the countdown to August. They're moving in August.
Nice.
And also Mad David, who's back on again. Morning, chaps, he says. I don't know if he's still here. He said that message about 15 minutes ago. There we go. Let's move on to the next question.
Oh.
This is important. How far in advance do people need to book? This is very important. I remember when we actually drove from Ireland and we took the ferry from Rosslare to Bilbao and we drove down. We organised it way in advance. I needed to book the ferry 6 months in advance at least to get a place on the ferry.
Yeah, if it's kind of like how long is a piece of string at the minute. As far as in advance as you possibly can is the real answer. Because we have been reduced in the amount of animals that we can take, and I only travel once a month, those spaces now get filled a lot quicker than they did before. So prior to Brexit, we would have been booking literally right up until the week before we went. When we were reduced down to 10 in and 10 out, we were probably booking up 2 months in advance. If somebody rang me today and said, when's your next available space? I think I've got 2 spaces left in June for UK to Spain, and then the next spaces that are available after that aren't until September. So majority of our clients are regulars, people that are second homeowners here that now only can spend the 90 days because they're not resident. So we're bringing out our dates literally like a year in advance so that people can then time their 3 months and 3 month stays here around our trips. Quite honestly, I could easily fill the vehicle twice a month. But a trip for us is a week-long trip and covers 7,000 to 8,000 kilometers. And doing that once a month, honestly, is enough.
That comes to that question that just came up from Beverly, actually. Just talking to a pet transporter guy in Magaluf, he said that up to 2 owners can travel in the van, as well as staying in motels on the way. It takes 3 to 4 days from London. Do you offer this service?
No, is the answer.
Why not?
Why? Okay. Who's this from? Beverly.
Beverly, yeah.
A couple of things ring out to me on this. First question I would ask this guy is he UK and European licensed to transport pets? We've spoken about guys that do commercial, i.e. the ones that are taking the rescues. In the middle ground, you have ourselves that are private pet transporters. And this sounds to me like at the higher end, you have guys that refer to themselves as pet chauffeurs or pet taxis. In the past, a lot of those people are not licensed. Their vehicles have not been inspected by FTA or OCA to make sure that they're fit for transporting animals. Quite simply, there'd be nothing to stop. Let's say you wanted to transport animals, Skatz. There'd be nothing to stop you tomorrow going and buying a van, putting 5 crates in it, driving them up to France, entering the UK, and saying that you are doing it for your friend, because you can legally take up to 5 animals into the UK. What it opened up was this possibility for people that were doing it but not having to have their vehicles inspected or doing anything else. The, the, the bit about where the owners can travel in the van as well, for me, it's a hard one because we looked into it and we were told that we would need some form of transport or taxi license to do that. Because you are transporting a person. What insurance do they have for that?
Also, it sounds like if they're only taking 3 to 4 days to get from London to Magaluf, then they're not going to have time to walk the pets very often during the day.
Do you know what? That's quite a decent amount of time, to be honest.
Is it?
So if we, with Magaluf, obviously you've got the ferry from the Balearics onto the mainland on day one. Day two, you'll be doing Spain easily. From Magaluf, I'd expect they'd probably go into somewhere like Valencia, so that their route might take them up to Barcelona and across that way, or straight up towards Zaragoza and France. A day to do France, and then you're in the UK. So 3 to 4 days is actually quite a reasonable amount of time to do it. What we've found since the introduction of the 5 pets in a vehicle, a lot of transporters are now switching over to this kind of service. They're going away from group transport and they're offering more bespoke options where the owner picks the date of travel. They might offer that the owners can actually travel with them as well. But the quotes that we've had back on it are ranging anywhere from £3,000 up to £4,500 to do it. But you've got to remember the transporter's got to get there and get back again. And I've seen our costs go up through the roof. The only advice I can give to Beverly on this one really is make sure that they have the right licenses. And it isn't just somebody who's put a vehicle together and started offering it as a service.
Very good. Actually, my next question was going to be about the sort of paperwork that you need, and I had a question from Facebook all about this. Let's put it. Julia Whitaker asks, do you have to get rabies jabs and AHC for a cat? Let's cover that one, because it's all about what preparations do people need to make in terms of vaccinations, paperwork, flight confirmations, all of that kind of thing. What would you need?
Okay, so I'm assuming this is coming out of the UK to Spain. So yeah, leave the UK, every animal, dog, cat, needs to have a valid rabies jab. With a rabies vaccination, you have to wait 21 days after the rabies jab has been given before the animal can legally leave the country.
Okay.
So if you had, let's give an example, I don't know, let's say you were thinking of coming out, even if it was in, say, September, then get the rabies jab done sooner rather than later. Because once a rabies jab is done, it's valid for a minimum of 1 year anyway.
Okay.
And it's one of the only things that's going to kind of prevent you traveling. If you said to me, I want to go in beginning of June, then I'll be saying to you, right, you need to get it done now. Don't leave it until the end of May. Otherwise, you're going to miss the date. Yes, and a cat does need an animal health certificate. Are there any companies that arrange transportation? Yes. Me.
Yay.
Approximate cost. We charge £795 door to door and travel once a month. If we do not have space or a date that fits, then there are other people that I can put you on to. Again, because we've got a nice little network of transport companies, it's not if somebody rings me up and I can't do it, that we just put the phone down to them, we'll put them on to somebody and help point them in the right direction as to where they can get it done.
Excellent. So, going back to the paperwork. So you need vaccination. What else do you need?
So if we're talking UK to Spain, the only requirement, the only jab that is required to leave the UK is a rabies vaccination.
Okay.
That's it.
So they just need the passport, the pet passport,
No,
the vaccination.
UK would be animal health certificate.
All right.
There are lots of different scenarios. So let's say I had a client that went to the UK and their animal left Spain on a Spanish pet passport.
Mm-hmm.
I can bring that animal back from the UK to Spain on that Spanish pet passport as long as the rabies vaccination is still in date.
Yeah.
If that rabies vaccination in that passport has run out, the only page a UK vet cannot update in a European pet passport now is the rabies page.
Okay.
So the animal would then need to leave the UK on an animal health certificate.
Okay.
If the animal has never left the UK, or even if it previously had a United Kingdom pet passport, it's going to need an animal health certificate to leave the UK.
Okay.
The thing that is most bizarre about an AHC, so obviously you need to know the date that the animal's being transported. When you then make the appointment with the vet to do the animal health certificate, the date that the vet signs and stamps and dates it, you have 10 days in which to leave the UK. If you don't leave until after 10 days, that certificate's invalid.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're doing it, we'll say to the owner, we leave on Tuesday the 12th. We want you to get the animal health certificate signed off, ideally on, say, the Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday before we collect and leave on the Tuesday. Because if the vet does it 10 days before we leave, and for some unknown reason there is a delay or something happens, once we get to day 11, we can't use it.
Mm-hmm.
So give us a little bit of kind of leeway on the timing side of it. The animal health certificate, once they've entered Europe, when we get into France, they'll stamp it at the point of entry. So if you are traveling, you're coming to Spain, but you're getting a transporter to bring your dog or cat, we won't be entering Europe via Spain. We'll be entering via France. So you have to tell the vet the country of entry into the EU is France, even though you're going to Spain, because the AHC is in a dual language. So there's English Spanish version, English German, English French, English Italian, and it has to be done in the version of the country of entry of the animal. So for us, we always say to the owners, make sure you tell the vet that we are entering via France and we need the English French version. Why? Quite simply, if it's in any other language, it will be refused, because border control in France read French. They don't read Spanish, they don't read Italian, they don't read German.
Okay.
So it has to be done in the language of the country that you're entering. So for us, it's an AHC 9, which is the English French version.
Mm-hmm.
Once the animal enters Europe, they'll stamp it. And something I always find quite amusing is non-residents can now only stay 90 days in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
With an animal health certificate, your dog or your cat can stay in Europe for 120 days. So your dog or cat has more rights to be in Europe than you do. Stay longer.
Oh, that's going to annoy a lot of people.
Yeah, and then if you're relocating, once you get here, then all you have to do is go to your local vets, register them, and switch them onto a Spanish pet passport. Then they can come and go as they want. So it's still even easier for dogs and cats. Change their nationality.
Brilliant. I was going to ask, are there any new rules and recent changes since Brexit that people need to know about?
Oh, lots. Nothing's changed in terms of pet travel scheme. One of the things that was kept as from Brexit was the pet travel scheme. So if you're traveling by yourself with your pets, then everything's as it was. It's more the fact that what they're doing now, especially leaving the UK, is checking it. So if you've got your animal health certificate and you're turning up at Eurotunnel and you're going off into France, Spain, wherever, traveling, then you'll have no issues. Prior to Brexit at Channel Tunnel, there was actually nowhere that we had to stop to give any form of paperwork or show anything of any of the animals leaving the UK. So we would literally just turn up, our vehicle registration plate would be read at the check-in, we'd be given our ticket, we get on the ferry, on the train, and away we go. Now there's actually a pet reception at Eurotunnel where you'll take your dogs in, you'll hand over the animal health certificate, they'll scan them, they'll make sure that the animal is the one that's on the paperwork. The biggest thing, if anybody's kind of going Spain to UK, it's different. Yes, you need to have the valid rabies vaccination, but then on top of that, you need to have a tapeworm treatment. I've seen people get caught out by this so many times. So the valid rabies vaccination, the tapeworm is a treatment that is given to the dog, dogs only, it's not required for cats. So if we're leaving on a Friday, we will tell owners that on the Wednesday, not the Tuesday, not the Thursday, but on the Wednesday, the dog has to go to the vets to have 3 things done. 1, scan the chip. Make sure the chip is working. When we pick up, we will always scan a dog and make sure the chip is working. Why? Because we know it will get scanned at border control, and if it's incorrect or not working, it's going to stop the dog from being able to enter the UK. Second thing is the tapeworm treatment. So on the Wednesday, they go to the vets. The vet will give them a tapeworm treatment, and in their passport there is a page for it, which is date and time specific. That tapeworm treatment only becomes valid after a 24-hour period. So basically, if anything's going to come out of them, it will come out in the first 24 hours, and after that, they're considered as clear. In that 24 hours, they can't enter the UK, and we don't want them in the vehicle. We don't want them around other animals during that first 24 hours. So we say, Wednesday you do it, Thursday they are clear, we then pick up on the Friday. After that first 24 hours, that dog has 4 days in which to enter the UK. If you're driving yourself and you get to wherever it is, north of Spain or Dieppe or Calais or wherever, if you get to check-in and the 24 hours hasn't yet passed, they're going to make you wait until it's gone past the 24 hours. If you get there and your 120 hours, the 5 days from when it's been given, is up, they will also refuse you entry into the UK.
Wow.
You will then have to go and get another tapeworm done and wait another 24 hours before you can enter the UK. When we used to use Eurotunnel, I guarantee every single trip we would get there and there would be people that it hadn't, examples where the vet had just given them the tablet and not put anything in the passport, or they'd done it on the Monday and they weren't traveling till the Saturday and didn't realise it only lasted for 5 days. But yeah, for entry into the UK, for a dog, you only need valid rabies and the tapeworm treatment, obviously with the obvious things of pet passport and microchipped and everything else. For a cat, it's just valid rabies and the passport and the microchip. And coming out, it's only the rabies. All the other jabs, vaccinations, yearlies don't even get taken into account and not checked. But again, on that link that we're going to put in later, it'll be for the pet travel scheme, and it tells you exactly on there what you need.
Great. Oh, and Beverly replied to the earlier message about the pet transporter, yes, it was more of a taxi service. They did have license details, so looks like they're legal, but would cost a lot more. That's
Yeah,
good.
it's a hard one. I mean, where she is, Magaluf is a difficult one. I don't know many transporters are out that way because you've got the addition of getting from the islands onto the mainland. Um,
They're
yes,
coming. They're coming the other way. I think they're coming from London to Magaluf. So
London too, Magaluf.
yeah. So presumably they might get a company who are based in London.
Hey Beverly, we could do it. It would be a bespoke trip. If you want to
Yeah.
have a chat,
Yeah.
then give us a call.
There you go. So I was going to. One of my questions was going to be what's the strangest request you've ever had?
Too many of them. Too many of them.
Pick out your favourite if you
I was asked once if I could go and collect a blind chicken from Madrid and bring it to Almeria. That's quite bizarre.
Fantastic.
I was also asked not too long ago if I could go and transport. Funny enough, I think it was from Mallorca. It was from the Balearics. It came through, and he asked if I could transport his racing pigeons from Mallorca to the UK. And my response was, they can't be very good racing pigeons if you need me to take them in a bag. But then I started looking into it, and top racing pigeons are worth a lot of money, thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds worth. But yeah, I mean we've done some weird stuff, and it's like when we're in the van, myself and Steve that drives with me, the conversations that we have with the dogs and cats when we're on the road. Quite honestly, if people could hear half of them, they'd probably be calling for men in white coats and telling them to lock us away. We're sitting there going along, doing our stops and telling them what we're doing, where we're going, and taking pictures. Sitting there with, if you can imagine, I might get out of the van with a Great Dane, and there's me walking along, Great Dane on a lead, looking, well, as macho as I can with a Great Dane, and then the next minute I'm taking two Maltese out with bright pink knitted cardigans on, going, come on, Fifi.
Yeah.
But I love it. For me, working with animals is the best part of it. I always look at it as the 3 weeks in between a trip is the work part. That's when we're dealing with clients and taking inquiries and paperwork and brushing up on what rules and regulations have changed. The actual trips themselves we refer to them as our adventures. That's when it's me and Steve on the road with the animals, and that's the best part of it.
I'm just going to put a picture of my two up.
Hey.
I'll put on the thumbnail of this show today. Minnie, who's the small one there, and we call her Minnie the Poocher because I'm a musician. I sing Minnie the Moocher all the time. So, and the one that you can only just see at the bottom of the screen there, that's Luna. She came over with us from Ireland, but we got Minnie in Spain. So,
I thought that one was actually like on the edge of a chair or something. Now I can see the ear.
Yeah, that's Luna. She's a lot bigger. She's a lurcher, and nobody in Spain knows what a lurcher is. In fact, not a lot of people in Ireland know what a lurcher is. We had to keep explaining it all of the time. And now in Spain, everybody says, "Is she a Podenco?" And we didn't know what a Podenco was before we arrived. But she does look a little bit like a Podenco, but she's more kind of greyhound, but slightly wider. So I think she's got some. I don't know what else she's got in
her. A bit like a galgo, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know what one of those is either. Is that Spanish dog?
Yeah,
So
Galgos are kind of like greyhoundy type looking. Um,
Minnie is
lovely little dog.
we're told, part Breton Terrier. She might have a bit of Chihuahua in her because she's what, about 5 months old now, and I don't know how much bigger she's going to get. She's not got massive paws, but she has got a lot of baggy skin that she seems like she's got more room to grow into. So
We do a lot of kind of guessing the breed because we do get a lot of Heinz 57s that travel with us.
yeah,
So, like on the last one, we had this amazing looking dog, and it was a Westie crossed with a Husky.
oh wow,
It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So, kind of Westie size, but everywhere a Husky is bushy, big bushy tail, big bushy ears. Yeah, it was lovely. I think we're normally better at remembering animals' names than we are owners' names.
that's brilliant. Minnie's got quite husky looking eyes, although they're not blue, they're more green, but they've got that kind of staring effect when a kind of slightly worried expression with little eyebrows that stick out. So she looks quite either fierce or worried all the time, but she's
Yeah.
tiny. So there you go. I think we've kind of run out of questions, and we don't want to go much past the hour.
What do you think Minnie is?
Yeah, what do you think Minnie is? That's Liz.
I need to see some more pictures.
I need. I've only got that one ready on my screen at the moment. Shall I put it back up again? It is difficult to tell from that picture. And she's got kind of a slightly Chihuahua face, but also that's a terrier face. I mean,
It's more kind of like the markings on her.
yeah, that's kind of spotty brown and white legs that she's got. Difficult to say. There we go.
You have to send me some more pictures.
Yeah,
Either that or pop up and see her.
yeah. Come back. You'll be very welcome.
Do you know what? Breton Spaniel does make a lot of sense just with the colourings and the markings. We did a lot of stuff with Spaniels going over. But yeah, it's kind of like, where does
I always said I always said I
ears.
wanted a spaniel, so but I didn't want the kind of the King Charles. I wanted either of them
Spaniels
next to.
are Spaniels are crazy. They are probably some of the craziest dogs I think we transport. Normally the Spaniels, you're in for a fun time because they're just absolutely loopy.
That's her then. Yeah,
She's also a complete
she's a
nut.
complete nutter. Yeah. We keep trying to train her, and she's good at
No,
some things. But no, we've finally let her off the lead when we walk up out into the mountains, and
I think you've got a
she
strong
moves.
hitting threat in there
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we always, when we got the Spaniels on board, we always kind of say they're like magpies because you can be out and they're doing one thing and then it's like shiny, shiny, and then they're off the other way and then back that way. They can't keep their attention on anything for very long.
Yeah.
So yeah, if she's got those kind of traits, then possibly you're right with the Breton there.
Brilliant. And Chris from Upsticks says, great show, very informative. We'll be in touch for sure. That's great. Another partnership. So, has anybody on the chat got any more questions? If so, put them up now. In the meantime, we have an Upsticks prize to give away. So, is there anybody on there that we haven't given a prize to? I don't think Julia Whitaker from the Facebook message that I put up earlier. I'm not sure we've sent her a prize yet. So that's one from Facebook. Is there anybody on here that's Denise Barrett? I don't think we've sent one to Denise yet. I think everybody else has. I know Wendy's had one, and the Mitchells have had one. So that's probably it. So let me just make a note of that because I lose all of these messages. Denise Barrett. Denise, send us your details. And if you can do that, preferably on the YouTooSpain community Facebook group. Have you got any prizes to give away, Andy? Is there anything that's, I don't know what you'd give away. If you've got any kind of merchandise?
Golden Paws t-shirts.
The T-shirts.
Yeah, as long as it's extra large.
There you go. Well, let's see if anybody wants one of those. Could you,
Yeah,
if I give you the details, could you send one of those out?
I can.
Oh, brilliant. So that was Denise and Julia Whittaker. And I'd better find out which Facebook group she's from, otherwise I'll completely lose her details. Anyway, we'll get those prizes out to you. I've got some T-shirts as well if anybody
Love
wants.
that.
YouTube. I did start just saying YouTooSpain originally. That's what it said on them, but I just thought let's print some U2 other T-shirts. This one
What does
says
it say in the middle?
"You Scroodly too." Scroodly was from well, it's just a way of singing Scroodly doo doop doodle Scroodly doo, and
Very nice.
yeah, Jack Black does it in what is it
Okay.
called, The Holiday? You know, the Christmas film.
Yeah.
He's in, and he sings together with one of the other people on that. So I just picked that line from there.
I
Any
think
new?
you'll find, and you'll probably get this a lot with other people that you have on your show and stuff like that, is with any question that comes up, it's not always easy to give a straight individual answer, because we need to know a lot more about the circumstances, the owner's movements. So we'll get asked all the time, how much does it cost? Or I want to transport my dog from Spain to the UK. How much will it cost? But before I can answer that, I need to find out from them, okay, where are you? Are you in the UK or are you in Spain? Are you traveling? Are you the registered owner? So sometimes it kind of comes across as we're not necessarily avoiding it, but it's very, very hard to give a standard answer to everything. Everything's quite individual. And you probably come across that in other subjects that you talk about.
Every single subject. When it's to do with Spain, the most common comment that I hear is it depends dot 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 on something, and it's so everybody is individual. That's what that means.
So like we were saying before the show, you'll go onto a forum and somebody asks a question about residencia and there'll be 50 answers and everybody's then arguing about those answers. Well, everyone's right based on their own individual circumstances. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think with what we do, the best thing is if you're out there getting quotes, asking for prices, when people first look into pet transport, it's very new to them. It's something a lot of people don't even realize even existed. Best advice I can give is when you're doing your research, look at the company's Facebook page, try and find pictures of the inside of their vehicles, ask them if they are fully licensed, both in Europe and the UK.
I would say
How many animals they transport altogether.
I would add to that what I looked for. I was when I was researching and looking for you for somebody to come on the show. The ones I liked the best were the ones that talked about animals the most, and they weren't the
How long
ones
does this
that.
show last?
Yeah, exactly, and it was. Yeah, so I thought if they're going to be talking about animals and that's the first thing they put up on the screen, we will look after your animals, we will give them the best treatment. If they're saying that, then those were the ones I put to one side and said, yeah, I'm going to get in touch with them. The ones that said, we're the cheapest company, we can take this many pets, the ones, or we have these rules. They're the ones that are focusing on the business side of it and the money side of it, maybe, and maybe not looking after the pets as much.
It,
That's my theory, anyway.
it is a business at the end of the day, but one of the reasons I started this, I'd been in real estate for over 20 years, but I wanted to work to live, not live to work. And I wanted something for me that was enjoyable. It's been tough going the last 2 years with Brexit and COVID and everything else, but I wouldn't change it. I love that week of being on the road, myself, Steve, the animals, going on our little adventures, and and just having some fun as well at the same time. But obviously, there's a very serious side to it. I've got a lot of responsibility to make sure that myself, Steve, all the animals get from A to B safely, securely, and yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, which is why if somebody said to me, why don't you go twice a month? Honest answer is I know how long it takes for us to prepare for each trip. The planning of the routes, the paperwork, the vehicle maintenance, stripping the van after every trip and disinfecting and making sure everything is 100% before we go. If you're going twice a month, that's a week on, week off. It's not the actual doing of the trip. I just personally don't believe that there's enough time in between in a week to do everything that you needed to do. And I felt that our level of service would drop off if I did that for the sake of, from the monetary side of it. So I would rather go once a month full. Um, I think with anything, the minute you kind of take the enjoyment out of it, then you've got to kind of question whether it's still the right thing or it's what you wanted it to be. So yeah, it's hard though for the person that's out there just looking into it. Look on any Facebook chat group or whatever, and if you put that question up, what you said is right. The first person that comes back and says we're affordable, we're cheap, we're this, we're that. Every phone call that I have with an owner, I much prefer to ask them for their contact details and speak to them, because trying to find out their circumstances and their requirements over a WhatsApp or a Facebook message is very difficult. Once I know exactly what they're trying to do, I can then work out what the best solution for them is, or even advise them on what you want to do and how it's got to be done are two completely different things. So yeah, it's much easier to have that chat with them than it is via Facebook. But every owner starts off as nervous. I mean, you got to imagine if you're handing your pets a part of the family. If you're handing that over to somebody, you want to know that they're going to be looked after. And for us, our clients end up becoming the best marketing department that we could ever have, because the best kind of referral is a recommendation. So
That's always yeah, you're right. That's about anything that I've done on this channel. It's all about recommendations, and
100%.
and sometimes that's Trustpilot reviews or something like that. One of those kind of things that you get on Google, but you can't always guarantee that they're not written by the company. So, but getting the more personal recommendations you can get, the better. And also, I think the company name, I always find that's really important. Like if you see it, Woofington Express, they've got to be looking after your animal if they've picked a name like that. And yours, Golden Paws, is also, that's
yeah, I
lovely.
think that's I've never looked at it that way, but yeah, there's so many that are like A to B pet transport. Or
Yeah. Oh, there
I'm
was
not
one
going to give any
actually.
more examples because I'll end up using somebody that.
I know. Actually, I'll give you one example that just made me think. Really, they've not thought about it, and I'm kind of loath to actually say it online, but they were called Terminal 4 Pets. You
Oh
don't
dear.
want, they've not thought about that, but they've been going for decades.
No, it's
I
like
don't quite understand that. Who's gonna go? It's terminal for your pets. I'm not
yeah,
going to take
we
that trip.
explain to people before the trip what actually happens during that trip, from collection through to drop off. So we're stopping and walking those dogs 4 times a day: morning, afternoon, evening, late night. We explain what they can take with them, what we can transport with them, how the whole trip works. But then every trip we do, we set up as an event on our Facebook page. So every owner is then invited to join that event. Before we start, we'll put all the reminders up and the pickup times and things like that. But then once we actually start the trip, every time we stop, we're taking pictures. Dogs out walking. It's like we'll say to people, the dogs won't leave the vehicle unless they're double leaded.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll have either their harness or their collar lead on, as well as a slip lead. So in all the photos, you'll always see that the dogs are double leaded. The last thing you ever want to do is have a dog's collar come over its head, which is
Mm-hmm.
quite possible. If you check any dog's collar, when we pick them up, the amount of times I can get 3, 4 fingers behind a collar.
Mm-hmm.
If that dog is in a strange environment and pulls back, that collar's over its head and it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So we won't let a dog out of the vehicle unless it's got 2 leads on it.
Especially if it's like a greyhound type dog, you have to have the
Yeah,
special collar that's thicker at the bottom so it can't
and
get over that thin head.
we'll only walk one dog per person at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's lots of little things that we do that we tell people about and we explain to them as to what will happen when we're on that trip. But then, obviously, with the event, they get to see it actually happening. The nice thing for us as well is that event lasts for a week.
Mm-hmm.
So initially, a lot of people are thinking about their part of it, from their dog getting from, say, Malaga to Manchester. But they'll stay in the event for the whole duration. So they'll see what we do, not just getting from Spain to the UK, but also the UK back again. So when they realise how much is involved
Mm-hmm.
over a week, I think by the end of it, the realisation then is, wow, you guys, I can't believe what you've done in the last week.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of miles that you've covered, the amount of animals that you've managed to kind of get from A to B, and all the places that you have to go in order to be able to do that, and the planning that goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's an eye opener for them. But I guarantee every owner will always start off the same way. And honestly, the owners are more nervous than the animals are. 100%, 100%.
That's great. So just before we go, Beverly's mentioned. Actually, she said, "How about a free trip to Magaluf as a prize?" It's a bit good. Nice. I like that, Beverly. It's quite cheeky. But there we go. But she said, "Do you do sewerage journeys? Is that meant to be a? Is that the right word? Mine don't like dogs.
We get asked a lot if
Separate? Do you mean?
separate. I would imagine separate journeys for cats. If you ask any transporter to do a separate journey for a cat specifically,
Mm-hmm.
then they're probably going to tell you need to book a bespoke trip.
Mm-hmm.
Every transporter I know takes mixed consignments. Um, you need to look specifically how those vehicles are set up for that. So,
There, she's changed that to separate. She didn't mean sewerage.
yay,
I
wasn't
was,
sewage.
no, I was worried slightly about that question.
Um, I don't know any transporter who would. It would be mixed consignments.
Mm-hmm.
In the 5 years that I've been doing it, we've never had an issue with dogs and cats being in the same vehicle. But the way our vehicle is set up, it's a bit like a horse with blinkers. The crates are on one side. So with cats, for example, when we collect the cat, we'll collect them in the cat carrier. The cat carrier will then go inside our crates that are built into the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Once they're in there, we can open up their carrier. They can get out. They can use a litter tray. They've got their food bowls, water bowls. But when they're in there, it's solid sides, top and bottom, and they're only looking out at the opposite side of the vehicle.
A blank wall.
They
Yeah.
can't see anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And then we tend to put them higher up as well, because obviously when a cat's on that trip, they're not coming out of that crate for the entire duration of the trip.
Mm-hmm.
If we need to access the crate for the cat as well, it's things like the side door, all the doors to the van have to be shut.
Mm-hmm.
Even when we get to Dieppe or New Haven, they'll ask us to scan the animals. If it's cats, we'll say to them, look, they'll be stood by the side of the door. They'll ask us to scan the cat. We'll say, we'll have to shut the door whilst we do it. The last thing you want is a cat flying out of a crate. And yeah. I understand where she's coming from. My advice, though, would be not to worry. I could show her plenty of pictures of cats and dogs in the vehicle, all happy, and owners that have said the same as well. So,
Yeah, okay. So,
unless you want a bespoke trip,
yeah, there we go. That's the answer.
there are
So,
options.
we've gone on to an hour 15 now.
Wow.
I think we've both waffled enough. So we'll let.
I think
we'll
I'm
let
worse
you go.
than you, though.
But anyway, so on behalf of everybody, I'd like to say thank you to Andy for being wonderful
Oh, you're
and covering absolutely every side of the subject. And it's been lovely having you. And so
Yeah, good to be
everybody,
part of it.
everybody, wave goodbye to Andy, and then I will tell everybody else what's coming up next week on the show. So thank you very much.
Have a lovely weekend, everybody.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the sunshine. And you
Bye-bye.
guys.
And the same to you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so let's tell you about next week's show then. We're back with Chris from Upsticks, of course. And we will be back on. We've been talking about quite a lot about what does it cost to move to Spain. And the last show we did with Chris was all about bringing your car over. And we're going to be covering another part of the what it all costs. And I'll announce that on the Facebook group. So make sure you join YouTooSpain Facebook community, and you'll get the announcement, or subscribe to the show. I always put it out sort of midweek, Wednesday or Thursday. And so also don't forget to check out YouTube Yoga. You've seen on the live chat, that's my lovely wife Liz. You can get free yoga and meditation classes. Don't forget to look at the merchandise page for the t-shirts, and look up buymeacoffee.com/YouTooSpain, or the Patreon site if you want to support us. All of those links can be found in the video description below, or on our website YouTooSpain.com. So that is all for this week. Thank you so much for joining us, and please subscribe and click on the bell ding if you haven't already. And peace and love. See you next time. Bye for now.